Hey friends, thank you for tuning in to learn more about what is Certified High Performance Coaching, or CHPC. I'm sure by now you've heard of it, but you're probably wondering, is this something where I learn how to work out better? Is this something where I learn how to be great at my job? What about my relationships? We're gonna go over all of that today, because today I, Lala, as your host, have a phenomenal guest that you are going to absolutely adore. You are going to love her as much as I have come to love her. And let me tell you, that's a lot. So the guest today is very special to me because she's someone I've known my whole life, and yet I didn't really feel like I knew her until the past couple years when she became a certified coach, and she really opened up and blossomed and started showing not only me but the world the truest, realest version of herself. And it is so beautiful, and I'm so honored that she was willing to come here today and be a guest on the show. So please let me welcome your certified high performance coach, Laura Hanson. Laura, so good to have you here. You know what I love about you is that you go for it. You're awesome. Thank you for having me here. You're such a joy. My first question for you is this: how did you enter into certified high performance coaching? What brought you into the family? This is such a good question. So imagine this. I was brand new to faith, like 6 months into a relationship with God. And I had just gotten done fasting for approximately 30 days, specifically to be closer to God. And so within the past year, I had quit my job that I had for 8 years that was steady. I sold my house. I lived with my parents for a little bit and then moved out. And at this point, I was living with a friend while I was delivering for a food service company, right? Like a rideshare thing. And so while malnourished and praying to God for some type of direction, some type of guidance, I listened to an audiobook by Mel Robbins called The High Five Habit. And part of that, she encourages people to sign up for the Growth Day app. And in the Growth Day app, you can do a 5-day free trial and also have access to the challenges. So it's like, okay, I'm in, let's do this. So when the sun went down on the last day of my fast, I was sitting on the couch reflecting on the month and also wondering, like, okay, what now? Oh, and I forgot to mention, the very first day of my fast, I had this dream, like an actual dream while sleeping. And I remember I was in an arena, and a guy who I didn't know, didn't recognize, says to me, something amazing is going to happen to you at the end of this fast, through this process. You're just going to see it. And I can't really explain what that is, but you'll know what I'm talking about. And I remember waking up from that dream and spending the entire 30 days looking for something. And then at the 30th day, I was looking back and on the couch like, did I miss something? Am I not appreciating life the way I should be? What is it? So, like most people in the 21st century, I opened up my email inbox looking for some answers. So when I opened up my email, I had a marketing campaign from Growth Day, and it was for the upcoming Certified High Performance Coaching training. And I didn't really know what it was, but the words as I scrolled just popped out at me. I mean, they sank into my soul. I can't remember what the copy was exactly, but essentially it was like, hey, Laura, your whole life, you have been looking for the optimal way to serve people in a way that makes sense to you. Like, can we hit the rewind button and look at all those nights spent on AOL Instant Messenger when you were practically counseling and coaching your friends, or thinking about all those late night philosophical conversations that you had in Walmart parking lots with your friends when you had a breakup or they had a breakup or wanted to talk about their family life, and all of the books you've read and the time that you've spent listening to people for looking for how to live the most purposeful and meaningful existence. Well, there's a thing called coaching, and it encompasses all of that, and it can help you continue to grow, and you can also serve other people through being a coach. No way, that's awesome. How did you respond to that? Oh, I think my jaw dropped. I probably said something like, shut up. I mean, seriously, because what I also didn't mention was that this company called the High Performance Institute went worldwide researching and studying the world's highest performers and spent millions of dollars trying to narrow down, or not trying to, they did narrow down what the key factors were that led to someone living not just a successful life, but a happy life, a fulfilled life, a meaningful life, which we all know is subjective to the individual. But for all of these people to have traits and behaviors and characteristics for their performance that had nothing to do with their background or their gender or their religion or any other preferences you can imagine, everything came down to the way they thought, really, the way they thought, and then the way they performed and followed through on their thinking. And so yeah, I was in disbelief that somebody, Brendan Burchard in particular, and then his team from his idea, went out and spent millions of dollars so that other people could learn how to be happy and how to have sustained happiness. And in the beginning, it wasn't about other people. I just wanted to figure out how to be happy for myself. And then when I realized the power behind it, I said, I have got to help other people be happy this way too, because it brought me so much fulfillment and joy that that's all I wanted to do, was give that same sense of fulfillment and meaning back to other people who I know are fighting for it, fighting really hard for it, and they deserve to have it. Okay, so what happened next? Like, once you signed up for the training, what did that look like? Where did you go from there? All right, so after I signed up, I attended the week-long virtual training, which was taught by Brendan Burchard, who is the founder of High Performance Habits, or the author of High Performance Habits, and also of this certified high performance coaching program. So it was super awesome to have the training come specifically directly from him. And then the training was reinforced through role playing. And role playing wasn't scenarios that were drawn up. It was me showing up as my true self with real problems, which meant I got to be coached through the process. But better yet, I got to do the opposite and coach other people with their real life problems. And I remember one of my early coaching sessions was with this woman who wasn't playing around. She had been certified a couple times or previously, and she was there to be recertified because we have to keep up our certification. And she was stressed, and she had a legit problem where she told me she has 2 high-profile clients that were in a disagreement with each other, and she'd tried what she felt was everything, and she didn't know what to do, and she was hitting this roadblock. The way she described it was like it was a massive problem, and truthfully, my throat tightened up, my stomach tensed up, and I had that thought run through my mind. Am I able to handle this, or should I maybe take a lesser route, or am I going to really challenge this woman to think about things differently? And you know what? I just decided to dive right in. I said, I'm here to give it my best, and so I'm going to show up and I'm going to challenge her to think differently. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm so glad that I took that route, because it led her to feel confident in the decision that she was going to make with them, because this is something that she had to make a decision that day on, and I could tell it was weighing on her, and I could see the relief in her face and in her mannerisms when she thought about things a little bit differently and saw things from a different angle. And that's the perspective that I offered her as a coach, and that right there was so rewarding to me. And then on the heels of it, when we get back into the group, and Brendan asks, what did you learn from your coaching sessions? And she says, well, I learned that former police officers make awesome coaches. And so that meant a lot to me, especially coming from somebody who was already a seasoned coach. And there I was in my very first week of doing this. And I was making not just an impact on one person's life, but on complete strangers that I still don't even know to this day who her high profile clients were. But I feel like I helped solve their problem, and that's pretty cool. Looking back on your life, would you say that you are somebody who has always liked handling difficult situations? Is that something that you're drawn to handling? I really have. I gathered from a young age that there are serious problems that people go through, and the severity of the problem is really just dependent on the individual person, because whenever stress or overwhelm or disappointment or letdown or comparison or judgment, any of that stuff shows up, it impedes our ability to think clearly and to make sound decisions. And when I say sound decisions, I'm not talking about what's popular. I'm talking about the decision that when we make it, we can live with ourselves because it feels true to who we are. And so I've always liked being the person that can show up for people, and it's more than just instilling confidence. That's a part of it, but more so it's connecting people with the strength of that agency, that authority that they have to make a decision, and empowering them to do it, not just encouraging them, not pushing them into doing something that they're not comfortable with, but empowering them to lean into the strength that they have so that they can make decisions that they're confident with. And coaching really helped me do this in a more advanced way because, like I mentioned, certified high performance coaching is based on frameworks that are scientifically backed and research proven towards guiding people into making, number one, understanding what their highest self looks like by their own standard, so that they can start operating from that perspective rather than trying to make decisions based on what they think they're supposed to be making decisions based on. You know what I mean? You know the difference there? So coaching really helped me go one step further by having a direction that I'm heading in, knowing what attributes that I'm trying to build in people, and also extremely enhanced my ability to ask way better questions to get people to think more openly and have a bigger perspective on the things that are going on in their life with that same agency to make a decision that serves them the best, that they can go to bed at night saying, that wasn't an easy decision, but I made it and I can live with that. You mentioned the frameworks. Can you explain that a little bit more to our audience? Is this like a one size fits all program? Like you're fitting everybody into the same box, like you're molding everybody to be a certain type of way? Or maybe is it like a sports coach where you're the one calling the shots and then the clients are just doing what you tell them to do? Is that what it's like? I'm so glad you asked that because I had my reservations at first. But what I have realized is the only box that a coach wants to put their client in is a box of happiness. And really, that is completely determined by the client. So the client gets to determine the life that they want to live that will make them happy or that will lead to greater happiness in their life. So it's not a matter of me molding somebody into being like me or being like another client. In fact, I'm not even giving any type of advice, which is a misconception that people think a coach is there to do. So if I were to compare coaching to a sport, because that's kind of the most common form of coaching that we see, I would compare it to the relationship between a boxer and their coach. And the reason why I do this is because coaching, high performance coaching, really is a team-like environment between the coach and their client. Or if it's a group coaching environment, then it's a coach and multiple different clients and in that setting together. But the time for the coaching is before the performance. And then once the performance happens, or once it's time to go live and enter into a dynamic situation, it's upon the boxer or it's upon the client to perform at their best based on their preparation. So when somebody goes home to talk to their spouse, I'm not on the phone with them saying, yeah, you should say this now. I'm not in their ear saying, this is how you should respond. You know, just like a boxer has to go out there and read their opponent and move certain ways and respond and get back up and be in their own head and going through their own mental rehearsals, even as they're live in the action. Everything is so dynamic, and I think that's so beautiful. But it also is beautiful because it gives so much power and confidence to the client, because really my ultimate job is to build self-reliance and self-confidence in my clients so that they can move forward in their lives and feel like they got this on their own. They can go and have these difficult conversations. They can go and make these difficult decisions, and they can go and live their life 6 days of the week that we're not talking, and perform well, do things that are going to advance their life, and they don't need somebody right there shadowing them every step of the way, because they're building themselves up, and they're gaining that confidence, and they're gaining that improved decision making capability to say, this is the thing I need to do in order to get the life that I want to live. Yeah, thanks for helping us conceptualize that, because I've never boxed before, but I'm starting to get a better picture of what it's like for the client. And what I'm hearing is that it sounds like you're really building a lot of confidence in your clients to be able to trust themselves when they interact with other people, when they are facing challenges of the world, and also to gain that confidence to get outside of their comfort zone. And on that note, can you speak to what the comfort zone is, especially after you just talked about boxing? Like, if I were your client, should I expect to be punched in the face? Are you going to yell at me? Are you going to rub dirt in my wounds and tell me to suck it up and keep going? Like, what is that? What does that look like? How are you helping me face the world in a practical way of getting outside of my comfort zone? No. Okay, so going back to the boxing analogy, so if I put Muhammad Ali into a ring with a 12-year-old, then that would not be getting Muhammad Ali out of his comfort zone, right? That would be well within his comfort zone, and it would be a sure win, right? Whereas for the 12-year-old's perspective, that would be well beyond his comfort zone and actually wouldn't do any good for him, because it's too far outside of the comfort zone, and it's more of a shock value that's going to lead to shutdown and reservation and withdrawal instead of continued engagement. And I don't want that. So really expanding someone's comfort zone is me getting a better understanding of what is their comfort zone, what are they comfortable doing, which is also good to know, because sometimes people will play with me and say, yeah, it would be really uncomfortable for me to do this. I'm like, you're yanking my chain right now. You could easily go do that right now, even if we didn't do it. And so it's my job to know what their comfort zone looks like, so I can get them to get a little bit uncomfortable. Not the 12-year-old against Muhammad Ali uncomfortable, but get a little uncomfortable, so that way they can grow and they can progress, and they're not just doing their normal routine of, well, this is outside my comfort zone, but really they're still operating from the same place. All right, so let's say I am helping somebody who is single and looking to get back in the dating game. And she says to me, look, I've only ever dated people that I've worked with, and I don't know how to talk to people. And in fact, I would much rather just text people, because that's how I like to get to know them better. Now, again, my job as a coach isn't to tell her what to do, but I am going to direct my questions toward building her confidence and her courage to go and explore new ways and try different things for how she approaches people, how she talks to people, because it may be that she doesn't trust other people, and we need to work on that. It could also be that she doesn't trust herself to speak up or to stand up for herself or to set boundaries, and there's really no way of knowing that until we sit down and have the conversation. And that's the beauty of coaching, is I don't have the answers. I get to help discover what the answers are with somebody, and that's the part that makes the teamwork so beautiful to me. That is fascinating. I'm starting to get a better idea of how the program is tailored to the unique needs of the individual. You mentioned the frameworks earlier. Can you speak to those a little bit more? Because I'm sensing, because they're research backed and scientifically proven, that there is some consistency going on between the programs, whether it's me, who's your client, or the person next door being your client. Where's the consistency come into play? Yes, you're absolutely right. So the first 12 sessions in our coaching relationship are called the core. And so this is when we are diving into those 6 high performance habits that Brennan Burchard and his team studied and researched, so that way I am building the most important things in my client to build that foundation as they progress in their lives. So my clients can expect to work on things like clarity and energy, productivity, influence, courage, and necessity, because they need to incorporate those things and build their capabilities in those areas in both their professional and personal lives in order to have that ability to make better decisions, in order to discover more about themselves and the direction that they want to go in. Because many people haven't even slowed down enough to say, who am I and what do I want? Because we often get groomed or pushed into certain directions throughout our lifetime. And so clarity is probably one of my favorite sessions. And it's the second session that we go over, and we spend a full hour on that because it's so important to know the direction that we're heading in. And many people don't have this already planned out and detailed. It was in fact one of the hardest things for me to get a hold of, because I didn't even know how to give myself permission to dream of an awesome life. Like, what do you mean? This is what I have to work with. And coaches had to strip me down and say, no, you can build literally anything. Like, yeah, anything? They're like, no, seriously, anything. So if you want to know more about high performance habits and what we are going to be coaching on during those first 12 sessions, then I highly recommend you read the book High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard, because one of the awesome things about the book is, besides the fact that he goes into extreme detail about these different areas and why they're important, he also gives journaling topics for you to start generating greater awareness in these different areas. But what I found fascinating was he provides stories from his highest paying clients and what's going on in their lives, which means it's very relatable to every single person. And it's also reassuring to know that even people who we look up to, and even people who are widely regarded as extremely successful, they still struggle with those same core high performance habits, because that's just part of human nature. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from high performance habits is all people are constantly needing to evolve and to change and to grow these areas of their life forever. And to me, that's part of why I'm in so much shock and awe about that this program exists, that a team has gone out and researched this so we can have direction in our lives rather than just wandering aimlessly. Like, does that work? I'm not even sure if that worked. How am I supposed to know if I'm going in the right direction? I have no clue what the right direction is. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's say you have a brand new client and they want to make improvements or changes or find growth in multiple different areas of their life. Can you describe what that looks like? Are they able to focus on multiple areas at the same time, or do you only dial into one area? And also, do they have to fill you in? You know, that's what I want to do. I have to sit there and fill you in with everything from birth until my present day to get you to understand who I am and where I'm at, what I've tried, the whole 9 yards, right? You gotta tell me more about that. Yeah, the beautiful part of high performance coaching is that the client gets to really choose what direction of their life that they focus on. So if they are struggling in their personal life, then we can hone in and detail that area of their life. Whereas sometimes people want to go the opposite direction and only focus on what's happening in their professional life. But in general, it is a holistic approach to a person, so that way they are building their relationships, whether they are personal and professional, or personal or professional, and no part of their life is being left behind, even when they're specifically dialed into one, I don't know, broad category of their life, so to speak. Yeah, also something that I love about coaching is that I get to meet people where they're at. So I don't need to know a rundown about where they've been or any historical data or what he said, she said in their life beforehand, right? So unlike therapy, where the deep dive goes into the past, coaching gets to meet people where they're at here in the present and address their current thoughts and their current behaviors and their current actions and patterns to see how we can grow from there. All right, let's say that you never became a certified high performance coach. You never read High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. You never were coached. Let's say you never even downloaded the Growth Day app, which means you didn't have access to the high performance community. You didn't have access to all the courses, and you weren't diligently putting in the work on your personal development. What would your life look like right now? And what would the main difference be from where you are now to the trajectory you think your life would have gone in had you taken either a more passive approach or more lackadaisical? I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth as far as what your process was like beforehand, but what are your thoughts on that? How would your life be different? Ooh, very frustrating, confusing, and disappointing. I mean, you've got to know that I was trying hard to live a good life, and I kept hearing people say, "You need to be happy." And I was like, "Okay, how do I do that?" And then I would hear, "Well, you need to make yourself happy." I was like, "Yeah, right. How do I do that?" I had no clue what to do, and I think one of my biggest shortcomings or setbacks kept happening because I was trying to work really hard to make progress, but I wasn't taking the time to figure out who I was and what I wanted. So I was just working hard and determining whether I was doing well based on the feedback that I got from coworkers, friends, family, whoever. When they approved of what I was doing, then I did more of that thing, and yet I wasn't being happy because I wasn't doing the things that made me happy. You know what I mean? The biggest change was that coaching gave me the courage to let go of anything that I didn't want to hold on to and to recreate myself in my 30s, which I didn't know was even allowed, so that I could start living a life that I was happy with, that I was content in, that I felt was meaningful and purposeful and something that I wanted to buy into. And what I noticed was I also developed stronger relationships because I developed the courage to speak the truth to people. Meaning, I wasn't lying to them before, but I was placating them. And by doing so, the goal was just to avoid conflict. And that didn't strengthen relationships. In fact, it usually led towards resentment and relationships disintegrating. And that's not what I wanted. So once I gained that courage to speak truth to people, I started letting people know what was on my mind. And I knew how to do that respectfully versus aggressively or defensively, which are huge, huge improvements from where I came from, just from a past that was filled with anger and feeling like I had to earn my way everywhere and couldn't just have a conversation about the truth peacefully. And I learned how to do that through coaching, which is so awesome. And better yet, my relationships that were meant to strengthened. And the ones that weren't really strong in the first place, I was okay to let go of them because I knew that they weren't serving me. And so all of this just became so peaceful to me, to have this ability to create a surrounding of supportive people who I knew saw me, knew me, and still wanted to be there for me and still wanted to stick through the difficult, challenging conversations and be open with me and be honest with me and share the truth with me. Those are the best kinds of people we can have in our lives. I mean, really, that is so awesome. Is there anything you'd want to add to tell someone or relay to someone who is wanting to be coached but might be nervous about this idea of restructuring their life, of changing things, of shaking things up, of really having that microscopic view on their life and saying, all right, we are going to blossom and grow and bloom, and you're not going to recognize yourself anymore? Because you can see where that might make somebody nervous. So what would you like to relay to them? Let me start by saying I use the term restructuring my life to describe my situation because that is what I needed at the time when coaching came into my life. But not everybody's going to be like that. Yes, some people will basically have their hands just opened up and say, please come help me. For the most part, people are looking to improve an area that they notice has decreased in performance, or something's dropped in their personal relationship, or things aren't really moving and progressing in their professional life. It's something more to that degree. And so I take them through the coaching process with that in mind. I would say the biggest similarity between people's lives, depending on whether they are restructuring or making additions, however you want to think about it, everybody's life is dynamic and is constantly evolving and constantly changing, and there's always something to be working on. It just is going to depend on the individual for how aggressively they want to pursue that next level of growth in all these different areas of their life. All right, my final question for today is, can you quickly touch on what your ideal client looks like? What are their attributes? What characteristics are you looking for in somebody who wants to sign up for coaching with you? And do you take anybody? I love this question. Yes. Okay. So my ideal client is somebody who humbly shows up, not in like a surrendering way, but just shows up and knows that there is room for improvement in all areas of their life. Basically, they're not showing up to me saying, I'm perfect, I need you to change everybody else in my life because they're the one that has the problem. It's not me. Everything I've done is great. So if you could help so and so, that would be fantastic. Like, we're not going to make any progress there at all. So I need someone who's humbly showing up and saying, hey, I would like certain relationships to improve. I would like my progress to improve, my performance to improve. So we gotta chat. We gotta work through this. I love high performance habits. Let's apply that to my life. My ideal client is also somebody who is eager to put in the work, meaning they show up with that eagerness and excitement to learn. They're tuned in, they're focused, they're dialed in, and they're open to sharing details about their life. And then after the sessions, they follow through and take action on the things that they committed to doing. So that way we are constantly evolving and we're constantly progressing, and we're not having to just revisit something. Because like I mentioned earlier, number one, I'm not a babysitter. I'm not here to be that accountability partner that says, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, shame on you. Like, that's not my role, right? I remember somebody asked me one time, like, oh, you're a life coach. What do you call people and wake them up in the morning? Like, no, not quite. That's what alarm clocks are for. So yeah, my job as a coach, my role as a coach is simply to help people think about things differently than they currently are. But my role is not to program people's lives or to tell them what to do or to shame them. Definitely not going to shame anybody for what they're doing. So it's all about guiding people towards that better decision making that's going to also involve increased awareness about themselves, which is another way of just saying, hey, my clients are going to learn more about themselves, learn more about why they make the decisions that they do, learn more about the patterns that they've had, and be able to look at what patterns that they're stuck in so that they can rework or rewire their behavior so that they're not continuing to run those same patterns, because oftentimes this is going on beneath the surface. We don't catch it. And then that's what leads us to get in that same situation with a different person, with a different name, with a different job. And we're like, how did we end up here before? Because we were too close to the problem to see it ourselves. And so that's the beauty of that coach, having that larger perspective and also having that framework to be able to see the big picture of what's going on in someone's life. I am currently taking on new clients, but there is a little bit of a screening process. Don't let that intimidate you. But I just want to make sure that this is something that is going to be a good fit for both of us. Because like I mentioned, there are 12 sessions, and number one, there are a lot of coaches out there. I want you to be confident that I am the right coach for you. And I also want to be confident that you're the right client for me, that our personalities mesh well together, because it really is a team-like environment and a team-like relationship. So I want us both to go into it saying, hey, I'm confident that we are going to produce some awesome things here. Wow, this has been such a wonderful conversation. And I'm so glad that you've taken time to be with me here today. I know that there are so many people watching this that are eager and ready to jump in and fully engage in making the most out of their lifetimes. And my guess is that after hearing from you today, they want to hire you as their certified high performance coach. They want to lock you in. They want to dial your number, girl. So how do they do that? How do they start working with you? And also, are you taking new clients right now? So the first thing for you to do is to head over to my website, and I'm sure Lala is going to give you the link for that, but it's lauraghanson.com, and you're going to set up an appointment with me. Now, once you set up that appointment, I'm going to send you over a set of questions. Now, this is where I need you to show up right off the bat with just awesomeness, right? It's not a lot of questions, but I need to know that you are actually invested in your growth. So please give me more than one word answers and let me know that you are invested in your life, because I'm telling you, I'm going to be hyped and I'm going to be bringing my A game to you. And I want to know that you're ready for that. I want to know that you're willing to engage and be there and grow your life. So head over to my website, set the appointment. I'll send you a questionnaire to follow up with, and then we will set up a call to have a more in-depth discussion about where you are in your life right now. I'll tell you a little bit more about my coaching, answer any questions that you have, and then right off the bat, we are going to be getting you into greater levels of awareness in those high performance habits that I talked about before. So your clarity, your courage, your energy, your productivity, your influence, and generating necessity. We're going to already go right off the bat and talk about that during our very first conversation, because I want you to get a taste of what it's like to be coached. So again, you feel that confidence of how I can help you generate a greater sense of aliveness and deeper relationships in your life, and be engaged in meaningful pursuits that dial you in to living your most purposeful life. And I just want to close out by saying that I see you and I recognize you for how much you already care about your personal development, because the fact that you're watching this video all the way to the end tells me that you are someone who's invested in developing yourself. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is to make the sacrifice worth it. Be a force for good. Share your gifts with other people, with your friends, with your family, with the world, and dream of a better life for yourself. Dream of that progress, and then go create it, because there is so much potential within you, and together we're going to have a wonderful opportunity to discover it and then put that out into life. Put that out into your home life. Put that out into your professional life. Put that out for others to witness and to see, because you're incredible, you're amazing, and I can't wait to get to know you better. All right, my friends, this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in with my wonderful guest, Laura. I have already asked her to return to the show so that you and I can benefit from learning more about certified high performance coaching. On our next episode, she's already promised to go deeper into the specific sessions, and she says she's already got something up her sleeve for how she wants to present it to you so that you can have a better insider look on what to expect when you sign up for coaching. So make sure you like and subscribe to this video and this channel, because there are more videos coming in the future. One more thing, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you share this video with somebody in your life, because we all have incredible potential within us. In fact, I bet you can think of somebody right now in your life who is incredibly brilliant, or they just have this untapped potential within them. And you know that even though they're doing great things, there's still more potential for them to unlock and more for them to share. And you just want to see them shine so brightly. So I encourage you to share this video with them and have them come back to see the future of what we're going to do here on this podcast, what we're going to do here on this video, because it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait for you to continue to be a part of this journey. So like my guest said, keep dreaming of progress and get out there and go create it. So from my best self to yours, keep growing that fire within, my friend.